Hello friends. Welcome back. In this video, we are going to look at Swagger documentation, or rather API documentation. So, documentation is one of the best practices when it comes to development of REST APIs. Imagine you are using a mobile app or website and it needs to talk to a server to get some information like account balance, making transactions, list of customer transaction. Behind the scenes, these systems are communicating using something called API, Application Programming Interface. This is like a set of instructions that allows different parts of a system to talk to each other. Now, when developers build APIs, they need a way to explain how these APIs work, what data they expect, and what they will return. This is where the Swagger comes in. So basically, what is a Swagger? Swagger is a tool used by developers to create documentation for their APIs. Think of it like user manual for a complex machine. It helps developer and even non-technical people understands how to use an API, what it does, how to use an API. Basically, for an API, you need to understand what the API does, what input it needs, and what it will output. Why do we need Swagger? Without Swagger, it can be hard to know how an API works or how to use it. Imagine buying a new gadget and having no instructions. Swagger solves that problem for APIs. It provides clear and easy to read documentation, which helps developers and other team work with the API more efficiently. Now, I want to look at the annotations used in Swagger 3. So in Swagger 3, we have various annotation like at Open API definition. This is like setting up the title for your manual, or basically we will use this to set the title for our API. You can also use at Open API ID definition to tell people what the API is all about. At operation, this describes the specific action API can perform, like get the list of transaction, post a transaction, get account balances, and so on. There is also at parameter that tells Swagger what kind of information or data the API needs for each action. There is at API response. This shows what the API will return, like 200, okay, which is status code for success, or 404, which is status code for not found. So basically, let us go and dive into the code. So before integrating Swagger, you need to have a dependency for Swagger. So in this case, go to Maven repository. So search for Maven Central. At the top here, search for Spring Docs. It will list. So after searching for Spring Docs, let me search for Spring Docs so that you don't use the wrong dependency. So we are going to follow this one, Spring Doc Open API Starter, Web MVC UI. Open it. So there will be the various versions for Spring Doc API Starter for Web MVC UI. So the latest one as per today is 2.70. So basically, version is very important because you will realize that some of the version releases help to solve a particular issue. So in this case, I am going to use 2.5. Ensure that you use the latest version because in case of production application, this one has got some vulnerabilities. So it is recommended to use a dependency that has no vulnerability. But for the sake of this video, I'm going to use 2.5.0. So add it to your pom.xml file. In this case, this is my pom.xml file. I am going to add it. Then I am going to my controller, account controller. at tag. This is a way of grouping various components of your API endpoint together. Like for this case, all these API endpoints are going to be grouped under accounts. So tag name is accounts, endpoint for managing customer accounts. Then we have at operation. We have said there that this annotation describe a specific action the API can perform, like get user details. In this case, I am providing a summary or a summary of this /accounts endpoint. This for creating an account. The description is it creates a bank account for the customer. So basically that is at operation. Each an endpoint I have provided at operation annotation. And then there is transactions controller. I have done the same for this. And if I run my application is running on port 8090. So if I want to access this Swagger documentation, I will go to my browser, type localhost 8080 8090 swaggerui.html, and this will be my documentation. This will be my Swagger documentation. It is opening the Swagger documentation for my banking app. So you can see these are very good looking documentation. So there is transactions. So you can know what this API is doing, like endpoint for managing customer transaction. The operations we have post a transaction, then query customer balance. And then for this post, as a developer, I can be able to know the data format. So if I try it out, I will be able to know the data format. So in this case, transaction ID, among other things. So in this case, I will say account number, amount is 100.00. So I am interacting with this API and I will execute. So after executing, so I am able to know this is the input format, and then after the execution, I will know this is the output format. An account not found, error occurred when doing transaction, account number not found. So this account number is not found, 101,300. This one is there, I think. So you can see that so returning error 404, but basically this is the response body, this is the request body or the input, and this is the response. So there are various API endpoints also for the accounts. Like if I want to get account for a given account number, I am required to pass the account number. If I want to get for example all customer accounts, get all customer account. If I try this out and execute it, you will see that I have been able to get the response, all the customer accounts, and the method is get. So basically it describes you the API endpoints, the method, what it does, the input format, and the output format. So thank you so much. Let us meet in the next video. Bye.